And at the beginning of today's episode, we will rewind time a little bit, back to the time when the team responsible for stopping Shigaraki was preparing the final touches of their plan, and they were confirming that they must control Shigaraki while he is in the coffin before he reaches the ground, because if he reaches the ground, he will destroy everything, and their plan will go with the wind. And now their fears are not limited to the damage that will happen to the building, and they are preparing themselves for heavy losses. But all the fear is from Shigaraki's personality. If Overhaul's control over him is lifted, then he will destroy everything in his path like a madman, because he enjoys destruction and because of the hatred and malice inside him. The biggest fear is that his anger will be directed towards the planet Earth itself, and he will destroy it. At that time, even if they could win the battle in some way, they would have lost the war. Meanwhile, we see people sitting in the UA Academy shelter, watching the battle live, and sadness is looming over everyone as they see the amount of destruction caused by Shigaraki, especially an old man who is sad about his house that existed since his grandfather's time. At this time, Shigaraki was confronting his power, the very Earth itself. That's why the city was destroyed and the ocean waves invaded the place and swept away everything in their path. And he says that with Japan's current area, he can flood the entire country in a week at most. And this means that he will erase everything without any trace or atom of hope for the survivors to continue their lives. After that, following his words, Midoriya attacks him and wounds him, thanks to his power, which he uses simultaneously. And all that is going on in Midoriya's thoughts is that he must find a way to stop Shigaraki quickly. At that moment, Shigaraki feels the death of Overhaul and says that all this happened because he didn't finish off Bakugo, because despite all that happened, he is grateful for these circumstances, and that he has become stronger and has gotten used to Midoriya's speed. And he ends his speech with a swift attack on Midoriya, who is surprised by Shigaraki's hand in front of his eyes. So, in an automatic move and thanks to his danger sense skill, he hits Shigaraki and cuts off his fingers, but he regenerates them and says to Midoriya, "You are too fast to the degree that you can repel my attack, but how long will this situation last, my friend?" And the holder of the transmission quirk informs Midoriya that a problem has occurred. So we rewind time back exactly 20 seconds, and we see Yoichi informing the rest of the vestiges of One for All that Overhaul is dead and that their eternal enemy has finally ended. Except that their battle is not over yet, because their current goal is to defeat Shigaraki, who is about to become the first One for All, anew. So the holder of the smoke quirk says, "So what's the plan? Every time we attack, he regenerates himself." But we are rewinding time. At that moment, the holder of the danger sense quirk senses them and pushes them all away to distance them from Shigaraki's hand, which takes away anyone in its path, and the others stop, frozen in surprise, because this is the first time it happens to one of the vestiges that his quirk gets stolen. In the present, the holder of the transmission quirk informs Midoriya that he has lost danger sense, and Shigaraki is contemplating the new quirk he obtained and says, "So this is the power that drove Overhaul generations crazy? Even though I don't like the idea, it doesn't matter as long as it will make me wipe the floor with you, Midoriya." Confusion and disturbances occur among the vestiges, especially since they were at their limit. They are trying to find a way to defeat Shigaraki while Midoriya attacks Shigaraki with a number of chains and tries to restrain him, but Shigaraki evades his attacks easily, thanks to the danger sense quirk, and says, smiling, "Ah, so that's how you managed to hold up against me all this time." And as soon as Midoriya realizes that his weapon has turned against him, literally, Shigaraki attacks him with all ferocity and says that he must get rid of him because he is the biggest threat to him. Midoriya uses a set of smashes to protect himself from the blow that makes him bounce on the surface of the water like a ball. Shigaraki says mockingly, "Why are you treating me like a human? Or do you think I didn't notice your tears?" And with his increased ferocity and attack, Midoriya asks him to get rid of these delusions of his, because he is now completely different from the person in his imagination. At the end of this destructive attack, Midoriya comes out of his shell, covered in wounds and his body bleeding, and he doesn't regain consciousness until his notebook is shattered in his hand. He discovers that he is now at Mount Fuji. The third vestige makes him understand that he only stole one quirk, which is danger sense, and this, fortunately, did not affect his physical ability for the better. And they reassure him that the source of his power is One for All, not the individual quirks of the vestiges. That's why all he has to do is wait until he regains his power, especially since the Fajin quirk is about to run out. And at that very moment, the holder of the smoke quirk says that the best solution now is for Midoriya to escape, since he is tired and his power has weakened, and he escaped from Shigaraki's stealing attack because of the danger sense quirk. Since it was stolen, if Shigaraki touches Midoriya a second time, it is very likely that he will steal a second quirk or steal them all. Shigaraki cuts them off, saying to them, "I can see you, you ghosts. You are discussing and planning to escape how?" No sooner had they arrived Then they use the decay quirk on the ground, which disintegrates and melts with every step they take towards Midoriya. And he continues his speech that the vestiges of One for All escaped before and became quirks. That's why he will make sure to completely eliminate them this time, and he will destroy any place they even think of escaping to the degree that he will erase them from history completely. And this is the future awaiting them here. Midoriya realizes that Shigaraki meant his heart when the vestiges inform him that if the mountain is destroyed, the volcano in its heart will erupt. And the eruption, although it was considered an absolute evil, he was doing all that with the goal of controlling the world, while Shigaraki is doing this for the sake of destruction only, and in the sense of health and renewal for destruction or chaos with each other. And the vestiges were facing the shocking reality in front of them. Uncle Midoriya is still thinking that there is a connection between Shigaraki's actions and the memories he saw, and he is still completely convinced that inside this mass of destruction and ruin, there is a human being present. And despite the atrocities Shigaraki committed, Midoriya knows that he still sees him as merely a human. In the few seconds that passed, Midoriya was using smokescreen to press his muscles to the maximum extent possible, and by using Fajin, he unleashes a whirlwind of winds that blows away everything in its path, and it even blows Shigaraki himself away. Shigaraki looks at the effects of Midoriya's strike and realizes that Midoriya's destruction of the ground on which he used the decay quirk stopped the decay of the surrounding areas. But although this is a smart solution, it is a temporary one, because he certainly cannot run with this ruined body like this. But he cuts off his speech when he is surprised by a cloud of smoke that was covering the place, and before he can do anything, he finds sounds attacking him from every direction, so he evades them all at that time. But then Midoriya appears, who delivers a strong blow to him that blows off his arm, and he disappears again amidst the smoke. On the other side, it was a simple but effective plan by Midoriya, which is to use smoke to block vision and provoke the danger sense quirk with continuous sound attacks. As soon as an opportunity appears, he will pounce on him, and this plan was formed after he fully realized the weakness of continuous reliance on danger sense from his confrontation with Nagant. But Midoriya's plan had a very simple flaw, which is that Shigaraki has the search quirk, meaning he can determine Midoriya's location amidst the smoke without needing to see him. And Midoriya learns this information the hard way when Shigaraki's nail wounds him, and Shigaraki's voice rings in his ear, saying to him, "Do you think I don't know your location or your weak point? How foolish of you." And since misfortunes come in succession, at that moment the effect of the Fajin quirk ends, and Midoriya is no longer able to move. Of course, something like this doesn't pass by Shigaraki, who informs Midoriya that he knows he is in his weakest state, and although his last few hits were excellent, he will not be able to repeat a strong attack like them in his condition. And he says to Midoriya that the weight of the thing he is protecting is surely heavy on him. Midoriya replies to him that all of this will not make him forget the child who is crying and asking for help, and he attacks Shigaraki, who evades the attack easily, and explains to him that humans try to find an explanation for things they don't understand to make their lives easier. And it's the same situation. He says that he wants to help him while he rejects his limited view of the world. And after that, he says to him, "Just as I see these phantoms, you see what is inside me by using One for All. That's how you knew my location amidst the smoke. So focus well and recognize that the crying child has overcome everything and has become what you see in front of you now. And there is nothing that can stop me now." At that very moment, Nana remembers Midoriya's words when he said that he wants to save Shigaraki. After some hesitation, she makes up her mind and asks him to forget this matter and focus on Shigaraki, because there are people with whom nothing works except destruction. Midoriya rejects her suggestion and says to her, "If that's the case, then why are you still holding on to the painful past and imprisoning it inside you?" He explains to her that Shigaraki, even though it appears he doesn't see the people he couldn't protect and tried to ignore the people he hurt, and all that he is doing is nothing but a curtain he uses to cover his weakness. And he will not surrender and will continue attacking him until he destroys this curtain and reveals his truth. After her, Kudo says that that's why he was opposed to Midoriya's crazy attempt to save the eternal enemy, and he was convinced that this idea was from the imagination of a childish, foolish kid and a result of the peace he lived in. But after some observation of Midoriya's behavior, he knew that he is completely convinced that all people deserve a second chance, because they are, in the end, humans in the end. At the end of his speech, he asks Midoriya to execute his words exactly, because he will bet everything on him, and to win him over, he must give up One for All. Of course, his words shock everyone, especially the vestiges, who ask him in astonishment, "What are you saying?" On the other side of the battle, All Might dreams of Nana, who is pointing to a crack in the earth. He informs him that there is a child crying here, but he wakes up from the dream to the sound of the army, who tells him to stay awake because if you close your eyes, you might not be able to open them again, and they realize that communications are cut off completely now. But he is sure that Midoriya is still fighting Shigaraki. He remembers the dream he saw, and remembers that he felt this feeling before, and he says that he feels the power of one for all, and that what he saw is a result of his connection to it, and he currently feels that it has started to disappear from him. On the other side, we find Shigaraki, who is surprised by the appearance of Nana's image in front of him again, even though he finished her off, and he remembers her last words, that as long as humans exist, there will always be someone who will inherit the spirit of heroism and stand against him, because this is the way of life. And he hits Midoriya, whose last attack by Shigaraki sent him flying, literally wiping the floor with him. He asks Kudo what he means by him giving up one for all. Kudo replies to him, saying, "Calm down, just so Shigaraki doesn't notice." He explains to him that the black mass he saw inside Shigaraki is an expression of the anger, hatred, and painful memories that were imprisoned inside him, and all these things gathered together and became his mind and his driving motive. But the holder of the danger sense quirk found a crack in the heart of this mass, and likely this crack resulted from his battle with Nana. But that's not important now, and the important thing is that this wound, even his regeneration quirk, is unable to heal it, meaning this is a psychological wound, not a physical one. Midoriya says to him, "Okay, that's nice. And what is the relation of this to 1-4? All then, Kudo answers that Shigaraki's control is very great when he took over Overhaul's consciousness, and in their current state, it's impossible to defeat him, and that's why they will attack him from the inside by inserting 1-for-all into this crack and attacking his soul completely." The holder of the smoke quirk interrupts them and says to him, "Wait a second, but if we let him take 1-for-all, he can simply use it, like the danger sense quirk." Kudo replies to him that the matter is different, and he says to Midoriya, "The matter will be exactly like when Bakugo helps you." Then Midoriya understands his meaning. So Kudo continues that according to the method of transfer, the person might be harmed, or the transferred quirk itself might be destroyed, and this is what they will do with 1-for-all. But since there is no guarantee of the success of this matter, he will try it himself first. And as long as Shigaraki didn't steal anything except the danger sense quirk, there must be a way to transfer quirks partially, because they are factors of unique quirks and an integral part of 1-for-all. And if he succeeds in transferring to Kudo with enough power, he will be able to attack Shigaraki from the inside without him controlling him. And the holder of the smoke quirk objects, because Kudo's quirk is important, and asks him to go first, because his quirk is currently not useful. Kudo replies to him that the Fajin quirk has ended, and if he separates from Midoriya, the effect of using his quirk will disappear with him. And if Shigaraki manages to use the Fajin quirk, then he will increase his power here. Bruce tells him, "I have always listened to you, but this time the matter is very risky." Kudo answers them that they lived in a harsh time and were forced to make difficult decisions. There is nothing worse than their current situation, but despite all this, Midoriya still refuses to surrender. That's why he wants to trust that the decision is right, because despite all the power he obtained, Midoriya considers 1-for-all a precious treasure of his power and his favorite hero. At that moment, Shigaraki says to them, "What are you saying in your secret conversation like this?" Kudo asks Yoichi to take care of Midoriya and asks Midoriya what he will do. Midoriya stands up with difficulty and says to him with determination that he is ready. So, I wonder what will happen. What is the fate of Kudo's suicidal plan? Will it succeed or not? All of this, my otaku friend, we will know in the next episode, God willing. Don't forget, if you have reached this far, your cool like and your awesome subscription so that you receive everything new. And then, may you remain in God's protection and peace.